Well, we gave you a sneak peek just a moment or two ago, but now it's time for the real thing. My name is San Phoenix, joined here by Blur, and we get to bring you the Elephant Crown action today. It is Division 2 once again. If you joined us yesterday, we got to see the other two teams in this division slug it out for the goal of not being the bottom of this group, but now we get to look at the opposite end, the peak of what Division 2 has to offer, and of what South African Overwatch, but not just South African, Blur, also Sub-Saharan African in general, because one of our teams today, those island guys, as the name would suggest, are actually from the Reunion Island, and they'll be taking on JSG Misfits today. So Blur, we're expanding a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean, it's been really nice to have them participating in our tournaments, and they've come in and they've played some very, very good Overwatch. Currently unbeaten, I believe. Tonight is their last match. So, you know, if they win this, they comfortably top the group, and they'll be going up to First Division in the next leg. And good value for it so far, taking down the likes of TMC and the two VA squads along the way. Misfits is, however, their biggest opposition. Another unbeaten team. They've unfortunately we haven't seen them against everyone just yet. They've had a bye one of the previous weeks, and this week they're now taking on, you know, their biggest competition. But you'd expect these two to really be the top two of the group, and you know, so expecting to see some good Overwatch.
Yeah, fingers crossed. We got to see TMC, as you mentioned yesterday, looking very, very strong. So I said yesterday in our outro that I wanted to see more of this Division 2, see the kind of teams that are beating TMC so comfortably, and now we get to see that. Those island guys, they really, really dominated TMC in their matchup a couple of weeks ago. So excited to see what they bring to the fore here. New faces. So let's take a look at those new faces here. It is going to be our Reunion Island squad. Those island guys. Capuchin. I meant to ask how to pronounce the tank's name in the lobby, and I completely forgot. But it is going to be Capuchin, Zidak, Leah. We're gonna ignore 4 of the letters in that 7-letter name. Shinoa and Nova. Blur, a complete dark horse in terms of who these players are and what they can do.
From the little bits I've seen of them, seen a couple of replays here, a little bit of a chat with a coach or two there. You know, it seems very much like what you're seeing on screen now is very much what they have been very hard playing. They love their Genji, they love their Nanoblade, but they also love a bit of the Diva as a kind of like counter dive and hard pressure resistance tank. Haven't seen a lot of Ramatra from them, but you know, I trust if they chose Ramatra as their favorite, Ramatra might be a tank that they're comfortable on. But definitely, you know, this very much looks like what we've expected from them in this division and what they're very, very strong on. Especially very, very impactful on the flankers, the Dragon Blades coming out regularly, and even in the off time, Zidak doing a lot of damage in the neutral fights. And a lot of pressure coming out from their hitscan player, who's also known to play some Tracer, putting a lot of pressure into that backline, sweeping, you know, enemy support lines, and really giving his team the opportunity to excel. So it'll be interesting to see how Misfits adjust that type of playstyle.
Well, let's have a look at what Misfits are bringing to the table then. It is going to be Kuragari and List on the DPS, Paleo on the tank, and Kazuda and King Catfish on the support. I believe we've got Prostitute in here for Kazuda, so that is a substitution I have to make to start off with. Kuragari, a player we're a little bit familiar with from the Pride Cup, and or from SWK squad, one of our school squads from the Rhino Cup earlier this year. And Paleo, we know pretty well from his time as a part of Overclock back in the day. I think hero player combinations, him and the Reinhardt are pretty much 1-1.
And thinking about what you might be running into in terms of that Island Guys squad, or those Island Guys squad, is you might be seeing, a little bit of that brawl style come to the fore, something where you can play nice and aggressive and stay together and really play resilient to a dive, resilient to those flankers. But we also know the strength that Kuragari brings on a hero like Widowmaker, on a hero like Ashe. Something that might be a little bit more vulnerable, but the trade-off for the risk versus reward could really, really be worth it when you're looking at the impact they bring to the table. Also seeing a couple of the high school players integrating into the community into, full squads is obviously really interesting. Kuragari and Catfish, coming from those spaces and really, really being, like, integrating themselves into, teams, formed outside of a already existing, organizational space is really cool. Gives me old Trizzle Trizzle vibes where he was going and joining his new teams and making his name in the community. And I mean, you can see where he is kind of now. So it's good to see that's still alive and well, that we're still cycling players through, and excited to see what they can bring tonight.
It is going to be very interesting to see because there's a lot of new faces here. Obviously, we spoke about those Island Guys, all new faces basically, outside of what little whispers we've heard about them coming into this match this evening. And then really only one really player on JSG Misfits that we'll have seen a lot of footage of. Yes, we've touched on the likes of Kuragari and King Catfish, as you mentioned, but it's really only Paleo that I would feel confident saying anything about their playstyle. And with Paleo, it's hyper-aggressive Reinhardt with a little bit of Winston on the side, as is so often the case with these old Overwatch 1 players. So it is going to be very interesting to see, and let's have a look at where they'll be starting us off here. In terms of maps, it is going to be Nepal to start us off here. Blur map everyone's very comfortable with. That should probably suit what we would think is a more chaotic playstyle coming out of those Island Guys.
Yeah, I think Nepal's one of those maps you have a very diverse set of, like, 3 very different maps that you have, like, various playstyles come out on. Village obviously is more around for its brawl styles. It's, some TPs, Bastion strats, hard engage onto that point, that type of gameplay. Whereas a map like Shrine is a bit more spam intensive. There's those big open sightlines where hit scans and flankers can really thrive. So it'll be interesting to see, kind of clash of those styles. It's always the best part of Overwatch, is seeing how 2 teams approach the same space completely differently. But I think it's the type of map that gives you a lot of versatility in how you can approach it, and a lot of space for problem solving. And this is going to be a good one to see how these teams puzzle each other out.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot of puzzling going on because these teams won't be familiar with each other at all. So we might see this game shift quite a lot from how we start versus where we end up once we're coming towards the end of this, because, as you say, you kind of have to figure out what your opponents A, want to do, and B, what you can get away with going into that. And so yesterday, for example, we saw VA Ascension come out the box with a very strong composition, but once TMC was able to figure out what they were really about, they ended up dominating. So it would be interesting for me to see how quickly these teams are able to figure out how their opponents want to approach things. But we are jumping into our first map now. And Blur, we don't know much here, but predictions-wise, what are you feeling based on the little you've seen of these 2 teams?
I think it depends on how stable JSG play today. If JSG are able to play a nice, consistent play style and really play together as a team, I think you're really going to see those flankers struggle to get purchase in this map. And from what I've heard, they're not extremely versatile in terms of the comps they play. So if we're seeing some nice unified gameplay from the side of JSG, it's going to be something that they're going to struggle to break down. However, if the gaps start to come out, if they start to leave a little bit too much space, that's when that Genji is going to shine. That's when those flanker picks are really gonna punish you for doing that. So I'd like to say, back our South Africans.
Yeah.
But it's one of those games that really could go either way depending on how they play. Coming out here, the side of Misfits coming out with some pure meta, some Bastions, some filth. Bat Ilari, sit in the space, hyper poke the other team, win that way. We're seeing a little bit of a different style coming out of those island guys. It's got a little bit more brawl intensive, and it'll be interesting to see how they adapt into that fight.
It will be interesting to see here as we watch things start to build up here. A lot of pressure being built. List immediately takes down the opposing tank, and that's pretty much the ideal way to start an Overwatch 2 team fight. Because with that big brawly frontliner down, you can kind of just set up on point, and that's what JSG are doing for the moment.
I like the swap already coming out from Leah onto that Xayah now. Xayah, a up-and-coming hero in the meta, recently received a very, very big buff to her projector bubbles. So you're going to see them enabling that Genji a lot, allowing that Genji to play very, very aggressive, and Xayah benefiting from the reduced cooldown and bubble for bubbling a teammate. But they're going to have to play explosive. You can't sit and poke a Bastion. The Bastion will get pick after pick after pick, as you see there. There's just too much overwhelming damage in this comp for you to be able to do that.
Well, to your point, as you say, they find that opening pick, and just look at how hard this point is to push through. Ilari, Tim, a lot of static D on the point that's going to make it hard for him to push in, but that's charged for Zarya, and they have found Kuragari on the front line, so now they move forward, barreling in, putting the pressure down, not going to find anything, and suddenly a flurry of kills, everyone going down, so they just kind of waited for a chink in the armor, and they got that blade in there and twisted the knife.
Nova's Captive Sun there is so good to punish the window play from Prostitute there. Absolutely, you know the team's going to be grouped, so that's the perfect time to shoot out a Sun. Really nice play there. Coming into this fight, you got that wall online and Bastion coming online for Misfits, so they're going to have to be using that to get some space nice and early and pressure in. But I'm not so sure about that one. It's a very passive wall. They don't really gain a lot of space onto point with that, and to actually gain purchase, they're taking a lot of poke.
Yeah, they've kind of put it to protect the back line and not so much to block damage onto the front line. Paleo is playing quite far forward here, aggressively into the Zarya, but the damage is forthcoming. Bob as well, taking out that pesky pylon now grab as well. It's good work from the Reunion Island boys. They clean things up here on the front line, and another swift team fight win, only really costing them the 2 ultimates. Blur. Pretty good to start off for those island guys.
And you have that nano blade, and you're looking at Misfits, you're thinking, that's a really difficult thing to counter with the comp they're playing. They don't have a response to the blade unless, Catfish can hit the Sun onto the Genji and you pump that damage. But it's one of those situations that them not having a lot of ultimates on board isn't really a disadvantage because of the impact that combination has the capacity to get.
I mean, 2 out of 5 ain't bad, right? That's almost half the ultimates available, and we are going to look through the Ana's eyes for a moment here, wait for that Nano Blade to come out, but it is going to be JSG Misfits starting things off here. Artillery coming through, the Sun coming through as well now. There we go, striking down, lots of damage, but no kills. In fact, it's those island guys now with that Nano Blade, finding kill after kill after kill. Again, very, very well played from them, bending, but not breaking.
Misfit's going to have to come in really quick here, pick heroes to just get the touch at this stage. But I don't think even now Frost can potentially get the touch. It's really close.
He's making it. He does get the touch just barely. So overtime will start to tick down now. Can anyone else get in? No. The Island guys on the front line. Too strong, too big, beefy, to preventing JSG from getting onto the point. So Blur... That tells us a lot, that first point on Nepal. Those island guys, they're not afraid to adapt to what they're seeing very, very swiftly, and they are very competent at taking team fights at sort of different phases of the game.
And it was such a smart adaptation too. It was something that gave them time. It was a playstyle that gave them time in the team fights. The Ramatra is great if you're playing aggressive, great if you're able to burst targets, but against that Bastion, he's just going to take too much damage. The Xayah enables your team to play more aggressive, get behind the enemy team, play really, really oppressive, and they used it so effectively to break down JSG. Coming out here, there's a little bit of an adaptation on JSG's side, playing a more traditional brawl style of this Bastion, with the zoning of the Mei and the Lucio to kind of speed the team around. It'll be interesting to see how they're able to adapt here.
Only change on the other side is the Tracer from Capuchin coming out, so it's going to help him get on the flank. He's dropping low already. Kuragari has already found, once again, Leah going down early in this team fight, as we saw on the first point, and it is going to be, once again, JSG Misfits setting up on point. Paleo back on the Rhine here. I say back on the Rhine because,
a more traditional
statistically, over the course of however many years we've seen him, it's back on the Rhine, but... interesting pick here, kind of a comfort pick for them.
Yeah, I think that's what they're thinking, is that this is something we can force pressure out on. We can really get them into a position of discomfort. But that anti coming in, that was such a dangerous situation, and Wall's now out to just stabilize them. And you have to play aggressive in this fight to make sure that they don't get out-tempoed here.
Paleo dropping low, big anti again, helps secure the kill on the tank, but they trade tanks out. That's not great. From the perspective of JSG Misfits, they're relying on the Ramatra a lot to frontline and pump out the damage, and now you can see, look at the pressure. Nova taken down by Kuragari with no tank. The Bastion's got space, but a big pulse bomb finds two, plus the lamp somehow kills the lamp and 2 plays. You don't see that too much as they look to push forward now. Capuchin, he finds his third. Is he going to pick up the Lucio here as well to make it 4? Probably, yes he is. And now it's just Paleo, last man standing. Will he give him the 5? Yes he does. Capuchin on the Tracer, popping off.
And it's just that, again, that you just see them making those adaptations onto the Ramatra to be able to play a little bit more aggressive and a little bit less based on, the tempo of the Xayah bubbles. And onto that Tracer to get a little bit more incisive with your movement and with the positioning. And those switches paying dividends again for the side of those island guys. They're reading the composition so well and giving themselves the opportunity to win these fights really, really effectively.
They've now switched onto the D.Va as well. Another big anti-heal immediately pounced on by Leah on the D.Va, looking to pick up those kills. They trade out kills. DPS on both teams going down, but Capuchin going down might be a bigger deal, especially with King Catfish's ultimate forthcoming as well. Set up on point now. Kuragari is under pressure. There's a Genji in the mix here, using the deflect, ends up getting the kill onto Prostitute, unfortunately for them. So that's a big kill for them to get. Kuragari set up on point once again. Needs to be careful. Knows the cooldown on the blade. They'll pick up the kill onto the honor as well. No, they won't. Okay. Manages to get up without going down. But yeah, not long for this world. Shinoa will end up dropping as Kuragari and the boys push their way forward. Paleo on the front line picks up 1, but on the point here, May under a little bit of pressure, but they have flipped the point and it is already up to 85%.
Expensive fight, using 3 ultimates to break that open, but worth it potentially. Having used that sound barrier, the nanoblade coming in here, if they can get the touch here, it's a really big danger point for them here.
Very nice work from Capuchin once again. The blade coming through as well. The nano blade, an expensive fight for them, but they pull out the blizzard as well. It's a must-win team fight for those island guys, and they've done so effectively. But speak about expensive, Blur. That's about as expensive as it gets in Overwatch 2.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at the JSG fight, they're also extremely expensive. They used both their blizzard and their artillery form. I'm not entirely sure.
Configuration artillery.
Configuration artillery, thank you. To set up that fight, and they weren't able to actually get any value out of that. The fight was very, very disconnected. And coming in here, they're going to have to try and push this without any ults, and already losing Frost in this fight makes it a very big ask.
Yeah, if they can pull out the self-destruct maybe, or the sun, they'll be freeing pretty good. I don't know if you can tell, I don't know the name of this ultimate, so you're going to have to help me with that one as they look to push forward. Oh, List finds a kill onto Zdak. That's a very nice kill. He will end up taking a nap, a rest well earned, but Nova says it's a permanent rest as far as I'm concerned. And they're kind of getting gummed up in the choke here a little bit, Blur, but they've got Lucio in now. They feel like this is their time to go. Yes, they're still a man down, but they feel like the fight is in their favor now as they move on to a point. But Kuragari, he goes down once again. Shinoa finding paydirt on that Ana as Leah moves forward as well. We see Nova here just pumping out the healing, trying to do the damage as well. But meanwhile, in the backline, Capuchin, 1, 2, 3, count him up. He's taking them all down. Yes, he pays with his life. They'll still be happy to get that kill, but with 99% on the clock, a swift recovery from those island guys will give them the 1-0 lead in the series.
And it's just it's a situation where JSG had all the tools. They had the 99 on points, and it flipped on 30. They had ultimates that they overused in the early fights, and they had the ability to regroup and push, but they just kept staggering in, looking for the poke fight against a comp that wanted to poke them out, and it just broke them down like fight after fight after fight. And effectively, you have to say they really wasted that last 70% on their points. Where did they take a fight?
Yeah. Absolutely. They got kind of stuck in that choke and then lost play after play. How many times have you as a coach seen that, Blur, when you're coaching a sort of mid to lower level team where it's like, guys, just Just chill.
Regroup,
Just
chill.
go back. It's so hard to watch as a coach. I know as a person who played on a mid to lower level team, I watched that a lot. I was a part of that a lot. So
just stand behind the corner and wait.
but you understand like what the players are thinking in that moment. It's like, well, if I get a pick, all of a sudden, that's an easy team fight win in theory. So. But unfortunately, it more often than not goes the defensive team's way, and it did end up going, in that case, TIG's way. So credit where it's due. You know, South Africa showed up to the Reunion Island tournament a couple of weeks back and absolutely dominated, and now it's their turn to show us how it's done, at least in the second division.
I think it's a bit of a different ask considering that squad was mostly comprised of the Inglorious Blasters squad.
Yeah, the best 5 players in the country.
You know, they only went and won the Rhino Showdown without without dropping a map. Yeah.
Fair. But I'm just saying, you know, it's tit for tat here in some ways, depending on how you slice it.
They're getting their revenge, and Paleo's taking the brunt of it.
Exactly. I will say there were a lot of impressive moments from TIG there. What really stood out to me on top of everything was just how smoothly they were rotating ultimates and utilizing ult economy effectively, never using nano, if not comboing with a blade, not really wasting ultimates at all, really playing effectively as a unit, which we don't often see for new teams coming into these leagues. So that really stood out for me and impressed me. But we will be going on to our next map at some point. It is going to be Blizzard World. Based on what we've seen so far, Blur, any way you're leaning that you think Blizzard World benefits either two teams' playstyle?
I think the Blizzard World map suits an Ashen and Genji very, very well.
Yeah, that's fair.
You're looking at a map that very much favors spam style compositions. That you see a lot of Sigma on this map. You see a lot of Orisa on this map. It's one that allows you to sit back and really soak up pressure. And I mean, as we saw on that Nepal Village map, TIG more than happy to sit back a little bit to poke out the enemy team. Even their support players happy to poke out the enemy team. How many picks did we see coming out of that Ilari there? Such great play there. How many sleeps did we see coming out of the Ana? You know, Shinoa and Nova really pulling their weight a lot in this game so far.
Shinoa especially actually impressed me with the anti-heals for sure. So often they'd start a fight JSG with 3-4 players purple, and it's so hard to push through as a tank player, you know, Blur. When you're purple, you don't want to move forward. So it kind of it's kind of a big combo breaker for your team and a big momentum breaker. So really super impressive stuff from everybody on this team, because Leah, we didn't talk about them that much, but really performing well on the first line, especially when it comes to picking the right heroes at the right time.
Yeah, I must say their adaptation, like it goes into that talk about ultimates as well, is that their rotations were very good. Their ultimate economy was very good, and their problem solving in these fights was very good. It indicates to me that they've probably been playing together for a little while. They probably have a kind of like system in place for how they work through things. But I'm very impressed with the way they're playing so far. It's a really solid team in terms of how they solve problems and how they look to take their fights. And I think that's really the gap we're seeing between JSG Misfits and them right now, is that I don't think JSG Misfits were playing a bad comp against what they were playing. I don't think they were playing a bad comp for the map they were on either, in either situation. I just think it was a situation where they were a little bit more trigger happy with their ultimates. They were a little bit more, you know, eager to peek a corner that they shouldn't really be peeking. And it's something that TIG were very happy to punish, like just repeatedly. And so it's something that for JSG, their solution to this map, it's also a map that we do see a lot of dive, a lot of Winston on. Which, you know, there's a conversation to be had about how comfortable they'll be on that. But it's definitely something that you see that potentially is a potential break to the style of comp those Island guys are playing. Like, they're a good team if they're able to sit back and play that spam, but maybe if they're under a bit of pressure from a Winston and a Tracer and a Genji of Misfits' own, you know, it starts to break down a little bit. Something we'll have to see kind of going into this map, if they choose to switch up the style a little.
Yeah, I that's always something I like to see from teams when you struggle on the first map, and it's worth mentioning. The first map was pretty close. Both maps, JSG got the better start, but TIG just kind of grinding it out a little bit better, a little bit sharper. I felt like a little bit, you know, hitting their shots a little bit better, sharper in the calls and the rotations, as you've mentioned, all those kind of things. They're playing like a team that has just a little bit more experience than JSG, which I don't know how true that actually is in a competitive sense, but That's kind of what I saw. You get the sense that they're playing with a bit more confidence on the side of TIG. We'll have to wait to see what comes to bear here on Blizzard World as we take a look at the compositions.
Yeah, I mean, from the side of TIG there, it's their it's a like a mid-range brawly spammy composition here. Elements of like hard aggression you're seeing with that Ramatra there. And potentially with that Genji, elements of poke you're seeing with that Ashe, with the Ilari, and some nice kind of like middle ground support in terms of that Ana as well. A hero that can be used in a lot of different contexts for a lot of different purposes. And I mean, Shinoa is showing a bit of a mastery of the hero so far in this game. From the side of Misfits here, we're going to see that hyper poke style. We got the Orisa coming out again. We got a Hanzo. Presumably they'll go on to the Bastion. This looks like a spawn peak thing, especially with Life Weaver there. It's a grapple shot and pull back into spawn situation.
That's what I would expect here. Kurugari, he lists Widow as his favorite hero, so it wouldn't surprise me if he goes for this on every hybrid map. But yeah, as you suggested, he'll start off on the Widow, take one shot, switch to the Bastion, and he'll come out with that. Paleo on the Orisa here, he's just going to kind of look to try and give them a bit of tempo here on the front line, push forward, put the pressure on the opposing Ramatra here, but the pressure is going all the other way at the moment.
That's a lot of damage in there, but a nice identification from the side of Misfits to force them off that high ground and kind of take that rotation themselves. That's giving them a little bit of space to posture up a little bit more and maybe get into a range that Bastion can be a bit more effective at.
Yeah, I like they're using their grenades very well. The anti-heal and the dynamite very effective at slowing down the push of JSG Misfits. Both Capuchin and Shino were doing an excellent job there. Another big anti over the top there. You look on the top right and everyone's purple. It forces out the lamp as well, and you can see how they respond. Yazida moving forward here, gets aggressive, picks up a lot of alt charge there as they get set up. You're happy, you're comfortable down here, those island guys, because you know once they start to push forward, that's when you can start to pick them apart with the grenades, with Genji, and with the Ramatra as well. So they will move forward now. Ulti comes in, gets a lot, but no kills just yet. Actually, scratch that, 2 kills coming through here. This is exactly what JSG wants to have happen. King Catfish putting the team on his back here, picks up 4 in that team fight, I think it was, and that's going to allow JSG to set up for this first point cap.
I was a little skeptical of how they were taking that fight, playing very, very narrow and very, very slow in terms of posturing their position there. But building up that Captive Sun was a really strong win condition for them. They put so much damage in, and they shaped the side of TIG really, really well to be able to take that first fight. I mean, all of that was one fight, a very long fight, but given the comps the two teams are playing, what you'd expect.
Yeah. Oh, Capuchin, he finds an opening pick onto List there, takes him down. It's because it's called Captive Sun that I can't remember the name of this ultimate, because it sounds like a punishment for yours truly, but it is going to be what JSG used to win that first point. Those island guys kind of getting pressured back here, or rather JSG getting pressured back here. Those island guys after that first pick moving forward as a unit to try and execute on that, but with the respawns coming through, it looks like Paleo and the boys are going to push forward here and try and execute on this team fight. Bob will come through, putting the pressure onto List, but he's just going to back up here with his Ilari. Ultimate on the front line there onto Capuchin. Paleo anti-healed up, but Golden in more ways than one here as he makes space for his team to get the cart moving.
I think that was a couple of really nice ultimates there from the side of JSG Misfits. I particularly like the window that Frost used there, getting pushed out by, I believe it was the Genji, and putting up that window to be able to not only give himself some space, but actually find the pick. And opening up that space for his team really, really nicely, because it also forced a back out there. And this fight's still scrappy, but kind of blows going both ways here, picks going both ways.
Art's still moving though, that's the big problem here from those island guys' perspective. And Kurigari, he's got his ultimate available here, the configuration artillery should he choose to use it. Pressure being put onto the Annihilation. Leah getting pressured back, not finding a ton of value out of this ultimate. We've seen how oppressive it can feel on the front line, and now he's going to move forward because apparently it just lasts forever, but eventually it does end now. The pressure comes out, Captive Sun over the top, Nova putting the pressure on, finds 1 kill, looking to clean up more, but it's Capuchin who's going to find the pick onto List instead. He's got space to work with now, and he'll be using that to end this push from JSG Misfits.
Nova with no fear there, using that Captive Sun and then getting into their backline to follow up the ultimate's own damage there. It's actually a really strong play given how that fight continued to break down. And you like to see that confidence. You like to see a support player that's able to get forward and able to put that pressure. And that's something that's been quite iconic of those Island guys' playstyle so far, is that the supports are very, very willing to make plays of their own here.
Without putting themselves in danger, right? How often have we seen them picked off early? It feels like seldomly to never, right? So very, very effective play from the Reunion Island backline, and fortunately for JSG, it's the Reunion Island front line here. The tip of the spear, the edge of the blade is what they have to deal with to start of this team fight, and Zedak with that nano blade going to be very effective at chopping up the Misfits front line.
And so as I said in the last game, like, this comp doesn't have a lot of answers to the nano blade. It's one of those things that unfortunately you're looking at every couple of fights. If a team is good with that nano blade, it's going to be something that you either have to put a lot of resources into, or it's a fight you have to accept you're losing. And at the moment it looks like it's just the fight that they have to accept they're losing, but they're not losing it cheaply. They used both their window and their captive ton there and got very little value out of either because of that pressure coming out from the game.
Yeah, kind of not really identifying the danger that the nano blade poses, or not being ready for it to come out. We do see the Disco on the front line here, finds one. Zedak will go down, but they're trading out a lot of resources here. Both teams, King Catfish, not Fatfish, will end up going down, but not before finding 2 kills onto the opposing backline. So very, very well played from the supports once again. It seems like it's a support meta here a little bit blur as we see JSG rather, push their way forward.
Unfortunately, losing Catfish very, very late in that fight. You expect the enemy's eye to be back before Catfish even gets close, and that seems to be kind of what we're seeing there. Really nice use of the javelin spin there from Paleo, but not quite able to get that capture onto point. With the enemy tank going down, though, that might open up this fight for them, even with ultimates coming out from TIG.
Captive Sun popped here. Nova looking for targets. Under pressure though, has to back down. Paleo, he's gotten rid of Bob. He does pay with his life, but taking down the enemy tank. They've cleared the point now, and that should be a cap. It is a cap. So JSG, a slow start on Nepal, but they're finding their rhythm here on Blizzard World.
Blizzard World's one of those maps though that every single point has a hard break point to where you can push it. It's like you see a lot of teams get stuck in that last bridge, and that's kind of what I think the concern was coming into that. And it's good to see them now progressing onto third here, opening up that space. It's another point that they now have as kind of like leverage, as potential to really give themselves a chance of winning this game. And the changes coming out from those Island guys are interesting. We now have a Junkrat on the field.
Yeah.
A very, very strange pick into this comp, but might be something that they feel comfortable in utilizing these claustrophobic corners, and he's already getting picks.
There we go, Catfish taken down by that Junkrat. So Capuchin, not a hero that we would think is in his pool based on the small data pool we have so far. But Paleo, meanwhile, on the front line will take down his opposite now. But he's so low, but he fears nothing here. Manning up versus the Junkrat and the Ilari, but it doesn't work out for them as he ends up going down. And that allows Blue Squad to just push forward here and clean up Capuchin. He opened that up with a kill, and he ends with a double to boot.
He got 4 in that fight, and he has his his Riptide online already. Maybe they should fear him. Maybe it's something that you should be a little aware of.
Artillery coming out here, pressure building. He's picked a target. It's the Anna. Will she live? No, she won't. That is a lot of hate to go onto a poor Anna, but that's the kind of thing oh no! Capuchin, though, neutralizes everything. We spoke about the Riptire, and he finds 3 with it, but that's not a guaranteed team fight win, but he's in the back line. He's found 2 more. Give him the 5. No, Paleo says, I'm going to save this one for my team, at least that, but the team fight is over. Paleo, last man standing, taken down. A Genji, or Lucio rather, coming in along with the Captive Sun. They're committing hard to this because it is overtime now, but pick after pick after pick. The Nano Blade, a guaranteed team fight winner, at least in the hands of those Island guys, and they are going to hold on third point, but JSG giving themselves plenty to work with.
I cannot believe what I've just seen. I cannot believe what I have just seen. I just saw a Junkrat go on a flank and kill 2 fights in a row.
You should play more gold.
Oh man, that was terrifying. I'm gonna have that in my nightmares tonight. I mean, it's a really good improv fight.
Jake's in your room, he's in your house. What is that old season 1
Jake's in your
Overwatch
house.
league?
It's 3 a.m.
Exactly.
He has Riptire. What do you do? Capuchin's in your house. It's 3 a.m. He has Riptire. What do you do? If you're the side of JSG Misfits, apparently you simply perish.
The game just ends there for you. Yeah.
But really, really nice play there, and nice improvisation there, which I feel like we've said a bunch in this game for TIG. We've identified that they've, been very proactive in improving their gameplay here, and it's paying off for them at this stage. They're looking really, really good on this kind of like hybrid style that they've been bringing out quite a lot. Not a weak style, mind you. It's not like a situation where they're playing a comp that makes no sense. And it's they've answered the comps from JSG very, very well. And JSG showing a lot of strength, showing a lot of clean plays to get that far into the map. But it has been something that we have just seen a lot of really strong improvs from the side of TIG, and it's a good position to be in. It's a good position if you see what a team is doing and you can answer it really strongly.
Yeah, and they're so swift with it as well. There's no messing around, no sitting on ultimates or whatever. It's just, okay, Leah especially sees what's happening, switches up, but Nova will drop early here. Kurigari finds one with that grenade. He's under pressure here, but that pylon doing so much work here. They're kind of sitting in no man's land here, those island guys, as they look to push forward here, and that gives so much space for the pressure. Another big anti here onto Kurigari and the tank. The follow-ups there, they trade out. You don't see that very often in Overwatch, where you get the mutual kill here. That's an old Battlefield 2 thing, it feels like, but unfortunately that's going to favor the attacking team with how the spawn advantage works here. Zida tries to work his way through the jungle over the top, as well as Leah under pressure, getting put down by her opposite number once again. What is Orisa, just too strong for the Zarya at this stage.
I must say though, you'd expect the Orisa to really struggle into Zarya, but Palio's got a really good grasp of the limits that he can play on this hero in this map specifically, and has been pushing really, really hard into Leah, really, really hard into those island guys, and kind of leveraging the very difficult to kill nature of the hero to give his team space to actually punish here, which has been a kind of a breath of fresh air for JSG here, giving them a really strong opportunity to put pressure on in this round.
Yeah, nice to see from Paleo as well. We really know him for his Reinhardt. And of course, Caster Curse, you speak good of him, and he drops first. Kurigari drops alongside of him, so this should be a pretty easy teamfight win here, unless something goes drastically wrong for those island guys. But no, they're executing very effectively, and that's one thing I will say about them as well, is that they do not let advantages go to waste here.
No, they pushed very, very hard once they got the advantage in that fight, and I was surprised to see Paleo drop off the high ground there right after I said good things.
Yeah.
And it put a lot of pressure on them to try and come back into that fight, putting them on the back foot and in that fight when they didn't have that same control that they, have been leveraging so well into this map to this point. One thing we didn't note, which has changed the way that JSG has played a little bit, is that they've switched onto the Ana instead of the Baptiste on this defense here. Maybe thinking they can get similar value with the antis here, as we've seen Shinoa do, and potentially thinking that the sleep dart and the nano might come in useful here to really kind of hammer home an advantage. But it has mean that we've seen Kurigari maybe playing a little bit more aggressive, where a lamp would have saved him and getting picked, and maybe Paleo expecting that was going to get that healing output, and Ana not really the same type of healer as Baptiste.
Yeah, not she feels like a vaguely similar role, but not identical in that way. A nice anti, we see it paying off there. The nano boost as well onto the Orisa. The blade here, but no nano. So perhaps a bit of a misplay, but no. Capuchin's picking up kills on the other side. Nova as well. So once again, support's coming in clutch here alongside that Dragon Blade.
Yeah, the Dry Blade really good there, but I want to bring attention to the fact that Zdak hit the deflect on the sleep dart onto Frost to get the pick there. Such a clean play, actually.
Yeah.
Definitely seeing a player comfortable on that Genji.
Well, I mean, he plays it so much from what we've seen so far, right? It would make sense. Captive Sun comes out. Kurigari finds one, though. Finds two, actually, but they have traded out King Catfish and Liz. So pressure on for both teams here. Paleo on the point. He's down a healer, so he's under pressure here, but he's doing a good job keeping him alive. He finally focuses down that pylon. Very nice play from him, and it's going to allow him to sustain a little bit better here when compared to Zarya on the front line. But Bob comes out. Nova as well, popping off. Paleo and Kurigari going down once again. Second point all capped up. Those island guys carrying the momentum through.
And it's just a good read of their composition again. They see, we've got these high grounds. We're going to hold these high grounds. We're going to pepper them down from there. They leave Leo on point alone there, but they're not still able to get so much good support and so much good, just sustain into their tank there to give them the advantage in that fight. It put them at such a disadvantage, JSG at such a disadvantage trying to get back into that fight that they just weren't able to bridge the gap that ended up between their supports and their front line.
Oh, nice work from Leo there. We speak about that pile and how strong it is, and they've done a very good job of dealing with that, making sure King Catfish isn't getting as much healing out of the game as he would like, as we see Zarya moving forward aggressively, 100% charge. That's pretty scary here. Nano boosted. No, that's just 100% charge. Actually, not nano boosted.
That is nano boosted. That's nano boosted.
It is nano boosted. Gosh, this game is so hard to read sometimes. As they move forward, and now the big anti is going to help secure the kill onto Kuragari. This is scary stuff on the front line here. Leah picking up kill after kill after kill. The projected bubbles keeping her at 100% charge, or self bubbles rather. And now she's going to get it. He's going to get aggressive rather, and look to clean things up. Got the ultimate.
Oh,
but it gets yoinked, eaten up. Delicious, says Paleo as he gets rid of the Graviton Surge, and now he's going to move forward, but there's too much pressure. Capuchin finds him, takes him out with the coach gun, and that he's going to take out Prostitute as well. So pressure building once again. The yellow box of victory just here, the cart just here as well, and it looks like it's going to be JSG falling here as those island guys too strong, too sharp on their attack.
I feel like we didn't see that payload stop. I feel like it just went from point A to cap.
Yeah. I think didn't they win a fight on second point or something?
I don't think so. I think that payload just moved.
Yeah.
It certainly felt like that. It felt like they were just in full control of that payload's momentum up until the payload ended. It felt like once the static point was broken, where JSG looked pretty good the first couple of fights. We were holding space really, really nicely, and then it broke down, and those island guys just pushed that momentum so well after that. They just never came back into that fight.
Yeah, it's really like I said, they're looking so sharp. They're playing like a team with a lot of competitive experience, because they're constantly switching, adapting, all those things we mentioned. But also, as I said in that match, they're just so quick to pounce on any mistakes, to create opportunities, and to use any advantage they make for themselves very effectively. How often have we seen them drop team fights that they're winning? Never, not even once, I don't think. So it's been really, really impressive, and it's you can see why this team currently stands above the rest of the teams in second division. They've just got that clinicality that the other teams lack so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that kind of like execution it's a really high bar. You see teams like higher ranked teams as well win a lot more of mechanical skill than they do with that type of organization, that type of like clean play. And like this is a team that understands playing as a team. Like it's a really, really impressive style of play, and I must say I'm really impressed by the way this team has played their first couple of maps, and eager to see how they progress. I'm incredibly eager to see might be getting a bit ahead of myself, but incredibly eager to see them play against some of the top teams in the country and see how they fare up against that, because it's not something you expect from lower ranked teams. It's not something that you expect. Obviously that's how you break that level. Is that you break from the second division to first division. You break from like the lower ranked teams into a team of players that are growing. Is that you get that organization right. You start to understand the game a little bit better. But this is I've been watching all the Prem games, all the VODs this week, and this is some of the cleanest engagements I've seen from any team in the country right now. Yeah, and that's a very, very high bar.
It's exciting as well, because this is not a South African team, as we've been pointing out. It's cool that we can kind of turn COWZA, or the South African Overwatch scene, into more of a sub-Saharan African Overwatch scene, and kind of get other teams involved, or dare I say, an African Overwatch scene. Of course, there's a lot that goes into esports in Africa in general that makes it hard to create anything that is truly spanning the continent. But it's exciting to think that we know there's a pretty healthy reunion island scene, and to kind of merge these two, or get more involvement from teams outside of South Africa but still in the sort of vague bubble of sub-Saharan Africa, it's very exciting to think how much untapped talent is there that we can put into this scene to kind of, buff us up a little bit, because we know how good our scene is. We've had the best of our scene go up against the best of the Reunion Island scene, and we've seen what they were able to do, but it's exciting to think of how we can fill the middle and the bottom out, or even near the top, because this feels like a team that could be punching, fourth, fifth in Premier Division, in my opinion. So I'm excited to see what happens going forward, but JSG are watching this VOD back and they're going, hold on, the game's not over yet. We're still in this. Hello.
Still another map to go.
Coming up, Flashpoint. There's still plenty of time for a reverse sweep here, so let's just remind ourselves where we are here. JSG did drop the first 2 maps, but every map is, its own context, so they'll come into Survasa here, trying to figure out what they need to do different. Survasa, not Survasa.
Is it Survasa?
Yeah. According to the game, the lobby says Survasa.
Survasa. Okay.
But we are going now to Flashpoint.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on Flashpoint as a game mode?
So Flashpoint's obviously the newest game mode in Overwatch. It's hyper control. It's control, but your fight execution has to be so precise. It's so punishing if you take a long or a bad fight, and it can turn most points are like 2 to 3 fights at most.
Yeah.
So if you play them badly, you lose control very quickly, and it's very, very punishing. So it's the type of map that favors first control of the map a lot. And it's a type of map that favors clean fights very much. And we've had both from these teams. The side of Misfits very, very eager to take first control of points in a lot of situations, but the side of TIG very keen to take those clean engagements, very comfortable on it. So it'll be interesting to see how they match up here, but it has to be a situation where they take their fights well, they maintain their space well, and that's something that we haven't seen so much from JSG, and we need to see.
But as you said, we have seen JSG do an excellent job in these first fights, right? Every map or both the maps on Nepal, they dominate that first fight, and that feels quite important here on Flashpoint with how short these Flashpoints are. As we see Paleo still on the Orisa here, they've made a few switches on the JSG side here. They're going for the double hit scan here, the Sojourn and the Soldier, and they're picking in the Kiriko as well. So they're feeling like they need more long range damage or mid range damage, it feels like, to back Paleo up on the front line. They are getting put under pressure here, already up to 70% charge here on the Zarya, putting the pressure on as Capuchin, he looks to flank out here. We've seen how strong he is on this Tracer, and he's going to look to get some work done in the JSG backline here. But pressure building nicely, and there we go. Zidak, he finds one. Paleo dropping very low on the front line as Fortitude looks to rain in Kunai from a distance here, but they do get Zidak down. Point has been taken over though by those island guys, so they'll be happy to sit back and let the team fight come to them here. Paleo, he has to do that. A lot of damage coming through. He gets taken down by Nova. A headshot from the Ilari there, gonna end Paleo's push in. And unfortunately for JSG, it's going to be those island guys taking the first team fight.
And 30% before the last death happens is a big disadvantage to put yourself at. From the side of that, it's that they're playing this lots of sustained damage. The Sojourn and the Soldier love to put out that constant tick damage and really give themselves an advantage, but the side of the Zarya kind of wants that, right? The Zarya wants to build that consistent damage output, and that ended up being overwhelming for the side of JSG.
Speaking of overwhelming force, overwhelming damage coming through here onto Misfits, those island guys. They used the Captive Sun there to great effect. Pulse Bomb didn't find any kills, but perhaps found damage. But whatever happened, they cleaned up that team fight very, very quickly, and they've still got all their big ultimates in the bank. But Kurigari, he finds the Tracer and takes him down, so that's pretty good start for them. What is happening?
He's on an adventure. He's nowhere near the Flashpoint, and he's nowhere near the next one either.
Thank God he can sprint, right?
Yeah, because he's doing a Forrest Gump marathon over here.
Ugh. They are set up nicely on the point this time, Misfits. They got nice and early onto this next point. So they're going to sit happily here. They've got the Orisa ultimate here. They've got the Kitsune Rush and the Soldier ultimate here. The Graviton Surge finds nothing there. And Kurigari, he'll find the opening pick here, get aggressive. He'll find another. Lots of kills going the way of Misfits. But, I mean, Blur, as expensive as you can make it in Overwatch at the moment.
I think, why did you need the Terra Surge there? Why did you need that?
Yeah.
Like, there's the Kitsune Visor, cool, you're on a flank, you're going for the Kitsune Visor, it's a lawnmower of an ultimate combination.
Yeah.
Like, it just mows down the enemy team, and it was strong there, but then they had 2 picks and they went for that Terra Surge as well. It's like, yeah, they've got first control of the points, they're ready for the next fight, but again, you're coming into a situation where that Nanoblade's going to come out, you don't have an answer for that, that's about to hurt.
Kind of the difference between these two teams. Capuchin gets taken down. Kurigari's done a great job this round of taking care of that, but can they take care of this? So far, so good, actually. Pressure being built now. List will get taken down, but only losing 1 to the Nanoblade is a pretty good start, but they're under a lot of pressure. Paleo, half HP, backing up, but staying alive. Now getting set up on the point. Zarya dropping low. They've taken down the pylon as well, so the world's looking pretty good, but eventually the wave of damage washes over Misfits, and they end up dropping out of this fight. But 78% on this flashpoint.
Did really like their answers to the Nanoblade there. The Ilari jump, the Sojin slide, and the Kiriko jump, all just splitting those targets across the map.
Yeah.
It was, and he also nearly got knocked off the map. The Genji, not generally one you see falling off the map very often, but like it was just a situation that's very, very nicely set up from them.
Ooh, big anti, big pulse bomb as well. Bombs all over the place here in the Misfits backline, and that's going to end their team fight quick, smart here. Already up to 60% on the flashpoint, and this fight's not even over yet. The cleanup coming through as well. So those island guys, this is what we were talking about, that clinicality, that excellence of execution, as we see Anna on the point having a bit of a breakdown.
I think the problem there for Misfits as well is you see them delaying, like trying to back out, and they're not going to get out. Like the side of TIG set up with this highly aggressive comp to stop them from doing that. And they're going to have to get the touch on the last second, and they don't. They're going to lose the point for free there, even with an ultimate committed.
Oh, that's super unfortunate. They commit the captive son in there. They don't find anything. They find 1 kill with that, but they lose the flashpoint out. Now we see them running in and dying. Paleo there, ending himself quick so he can get set up for the next point. But it's do or die now. Last flashpoint. Oh, they're all Peach's friends that are online, in case you were wondering. Last flashpoint here on the last map. This is what it all comes down to for Misfits.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to win this and then win the next 2 as well. But a different style coming at you. They're playing this, brawl comp that they're going to stack together, they're going to group together, make it really difficult for the Tracer to get into them, but they have to remain disciplined in their position. Kurigari drifts a couple of steps out and nearly immediately gets picked. But taking up the space here, stabilizing onto this high ground might be the first bit in retaking this point.
Ooh, Paleo getting very aggressive here into the enemy Zarya. Have they taken him down? They have. They've taken down 2. In fact, nice. Paleo finds a second for his trouble, but he will end up dropping out. So can they clean up here? So far, it's not looking like it. They've lost a few more players on the side of Misfits. It's a messy fight for both teams here. Nanoblade still available, but they find that Tracer, and you've got to feel like that's the key to victory here in this team fight. Anna under pressure, getting forced back, but Misfits finally have found themselves a team fight win here on Suravasa. As I say that though, Kurikari will get slept up, naded up, and taken down as the rest of the team comes in. The point has been flipped over. Big Bad Paleo's back in the mix here, 68% towards his ultimate, but Leah close to hers. No, false alarm. He's on like 18%. Sorry, Leah's a female name. Generally, the hero is female. There's a lot to unpack here as Paleo, he looks to build up towards this ultimate. No shield available on the other side. He's under so much pressure. Another big anti-heal could secure a couple of kills, but it's Capuchin who goes down instead. Zedek as well. Kurigari finding pick after pick on the Cassidy here. Excellent work from the Misfits DPS player. The hit scan finding the money here, but Paleo has dropped in the meanwhile. Leah are doing so much work on the front line. Pro healed up here, and Nano boosted it to boot. Look at the tracking there. The ice block going to keep the May alive, but the point had been flipped over time, ticking down. No, sorry, wrong team. Still not over yet. They're pushing forward, but no, okay. Good call from Misfits, just back up there. But a good passage of play for the red team.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a lot more stability from them when they're playing this brawl comp here. The flankers definitely struggling to get as much value as they were before, and especially looking at, you've been coming in with that nano blade so frequently. This Lucio's a nice answer to that if you're using it as an exchange. 3 ultimates online here, coming in aggressive into this fight.
Ooh, they started with Paleo's ultimate there. Oh, that's a big Planes 2. Nova and Z deck kick the deck here. Capuchin tracked down a headshot to take him out as well. Kuragari coming in clutch for his team here. An expensive team fight, but one they need to win to secure their first flashpoint of map number 3.
And we like this. We like them kind of getting a foothold in this game, showing that they're not dead yet. Capuchin switching onto the Ashe here, maybe thinking the team could benefit a little bit more from poke, and I'm inclined to agree. Ashe notoriously good against brawl comps as well. That Dynamite's absolutely devastating against tightly grouped comps, and I mean that'll build Bob in a fight if you're hitting those consistently. So I think a nice little switch there to give them a little bit more control over the space, but it's definitely a better look from the side of Misfits.
Yeah, it's very much more in line with what they would want to run, I would think. Their platonic ideal for compositions versus their playstyle. They will look to get set up here on the second point. It's okay, I don't know where the point is. Oh, yeah, found it. Here's the point. Everybody, I don't know. How comfortable are you on Flashpoint? Because Altruism and I were like, "What? We don't know what's happening on this map."
I love playing Flash. Or in terms of calling or playing, because I love Flashpoint as a game mode. The flow of it is so much fun.
Well, I'll tell you who's not having fun right now. Blur, it's King Catfish. He's found his way into the afterlife here. Kuragari has taken on that pylon. They've got the Blizzard as well to work with. Pushing goes down. Kuragari once again coming in clutch on the Cassidy, finding both enemy DPSs. A great May wall to keep Leah in the mix here. And now they can move forward and get rid of these supports late in the fight. 50% already pulled up another headshot. Kuragari popping off on the Cassidy.
He's done. He's not playing games anymore. This is his map.
Yeah,
that was really, really well played there. And we're seeing the strength that Cassidy brings in terms of dealing with flankers. One thing I want to note from the approach to that fight, because they kind of like poked at each other as they were kind of getting the posturing, is that each of these points have like a very specific zone that they have.
Yeah.
And it's like they're trying to take control of those choke points before taking the fights, which is very good positional and space play. And it's, really good for them to put that in. And they win that without TIG even touching.
Oh, they did. That is very, very good for Misfits here. They found a rhythm on this composition that really works for them. And on top of that, they're winning these team fights pretty cleanly as well. And they pulled out a nano as well. No blade, thankfully, but to clean up here. 1, 2, 3. Count him up on the deck here. Paleo, he's had enough. Kuragari picking up the kills as well. So finally, Misfits have found the rhythm. The monster energies hit the bloodstream here, and they're ready to play.
I like that a lot. I like that they were willing to commit that ultimate to make sure they get first control here. Like, again, we've talked about how valuable this time bank is in this mode, and getting first control is going to play a very, very big part in potentially winning them this map. Good ultimates online for them to respond to what the side of TIG has.
Oh, what is this? Captive Sun coming through. Immediate response with the sound barrier. Nice dead eye. Doesn't find too much. Lucky not to execute himself there. Bob will take down Prostitute, but Paleo's going ham on the front line here. Still 50% HP as Nova drops as well. Capuchin trying to find kills, trying to find damage. Paleo's like, gents, please. There's a robot in the back line, and it takes him down with the help of the other robot in the back line. It's robots all over the place here for Misfits. There's a movie and there's a joke in there. There's a movie with robots. I'm sure a better man than me would have been able to make it, but finally those island guys have taken control of proceedings here on Survasa.
There's also, a well-known lore entry about an Omnic crisis.
Yeah, but that's too obvious. It's not a reference at that point. It's just like, this is the game we're playing, and this is what happened in the game we're playing.
From the side of the island guys, back onto that Junkrat, thinking they can get a lot of value in these really tight corridors against this very grouped composition. I'm inclined to agree with that. But the side of JSG, they need to reset now. They've given up a lot of time, a lot of space, and they're still taking short-handed fights. It's what we saw in the previous maps. Regroup,
this is the difference between these two teams, right? It's one team ice cold killers on the front line, and the other team floundering a little bit here when the pressure is on, and that's what we've just seen happen here on the last point of COWZA here. 98%. Do they even get the touch? They do. Overtime ticks over with 50% out charge. Leah not afraid to fight up here, man up, and that's going to be that. A valiant effort at the end there from Misfits, but at the end of it all, the Reunion Island guys just too strong.
They just needed to regroup, son. I'm so sad.
They finished how they started.
All over the place.
Wow, feeding kills while setting up in the choke.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. It was a really good match from both teams. I really think this map was a great example of how JSG was starting to find a footing, starting to find that kind of like answer to what the Island guys were playing. Those Island guys were playing. But you know, cooler heads prevailed. The calmer team, the team with the time to kind of like just play it slow and get the handle in the situation, won the game. They just played it at a good pace and made sure that they were able to kind of clutch out that map at the end of the fifth point. We saw a little bit of every part of COWZA, and unfortunately, those Island. Oh, fortunately, if you're there. Unfortunately, if you wanted to watch more Overwatch, those Island guys just bringing it home, bringing him to a clean 3-0. Though not a thoroughly uncontested 3-0.
Yeah.
JSG Misfits, coming in, showing that there was some life in this game. There was some life for them. There was some ability for them to find the space in those team fights, but they're just not able to kind of hammer it home when it counts.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those games where you like, on a different day, this is a 3-1 or a 3-2. I think ultimately those Island guys look like the better team pretty much from the second team fight on Nepal, but Misfits showed enough there for me to say they could probably win a couple of maps if they just. It felt like they were playing a bit. I hesitate to say what I'm about to say, but almost a bit nervous, just a little bit loose where they didn't need to be loose, making mistakes that they probably don't make in their practices. So when they're under pressure, just faltering just a little bit. Where, as I said in that last map, TIG were just ice cold throughout the whole map. Well, Blair, that is going to be it for Overwatch action probably this week, but we'll have to wait and see what happens this weekend. But before we sign off here, who stood out for you here? I think there were a lot of players you could go with, but who do you think was your player of the match, Blair?
So there was a moment that kind of hammered it home for me. It was a moment on COWZA on the Palace point. Where it was Kuragari, Frost, and Shinoa. And Shinoa's kind of like lurking on that edge of the point and sitting there and like poking in a little bit. And Kuragari's like, I'm going to take this fight. Pushes in and plays super aggressively. And Shinoa hits a shot, backs behind the corner. Kuragari keeps pushing pushing to try and get the advantage. Gets slept, gets antied, and then gets killed. And those Island guys are able to come back into the fight. And I think that was very indicative of the way those Island guys played. Is that all of them were happy to make a play. All of them were happy to kind of push their way into the fight. And so I'd say if I was talking about like a player that really, really stood out for me in this game, we're definitely looking at one of the support players. And I'd say, we saw the antis throughout the match. Big antis, big impactful plays coming out. And that's the player that you're looking at making those plays. Nova as well, putting in so much damage. The Captive Sons getting so much value in that game. Eventually they were committing beats when the enemy team had Blade still.
Yeah.
Really, really nice to see kind of strong support play, strong proactive support play as well. It's not just keeping our tank alive at all costs. It's, we're hitting antis to make the plays available. We're hitting those Captive Sons. We're hitting our headshots. We're taking our duels. And it was great to see them as a kind of like element of those Island guys' playstyle, and one that I definitely think was kind of fundamental in how they played.
Yeah, I think again for me it's that clinicality, and I 100% agree with you. It's one of the supports, and I think Shinoa had the more standout moments and more consistently was making big noticeable impacts on team fights. So 100% agree with you. Shinoa, my player of the match as well. But it's the fact that how often did we see the supports get picked off early? like so infrequently were they the people who were getting caught out, were they trying to get value out of the heroes and paying for it with their lives. It was always find a big anti, pull back, play it safe, find a couple of shots or clean things up when the coast is relatively clear. Part of why they were able to convert their advantage so effectively was because their supports were so good at staying alive while also contributing to the DPS. So really impressive stuff from those island guys, and super excited to see what they bring to the Premier League next time, because they're finished with all their matches now. They've gone 4-0 in the group, I guess. So nobody can come out ahead of them. So they will be making their way to Premier Division next time out, whenever that happens. And honestly, so deserved. And it's kind of a revelation in the South African scene, I think, Blur.
Yeah, I mean, they were great. They were so entertaining to watch. They were like their style of play was so incredibly clean. And I mean, I said it earlier between the map 2 and 3. It's a situation where you just don't see that kind of like clean, like that clarity of intent from a team so often.
Mm-hmm.
And they were very clear in what they were trying to do at all stages of the game. They were super fun to watch, super fun to cast, and I loved seeing them problem solve their way through JSG's comps. Great style of play.
Well, guys, that is going to be it here tonight from myself and Blur. Don't forget to follow us on all of the various socials. My name is SunPhoenix, at SunPhoenix on Twitter, as you can see on screen, at Bracken_LR on Twitter. That's new. That's not what I know as your Twitter handle, but that is. Or sorry, on X. And then most important is to follow at ZA Overwatch on Twitter. That's where you'll be able to keep up with all things happening in South African Overwatch. Any new tournaments, any Parkside tournaments like Pride Cup, those sorts of things. That's where you can keep up to that with that. In the chat, I'm sure Nightbot will be posting links to the Discord channel, or whatever. We'll be posting links to the Discord channel, and that's where you can go if you want to get involved in anything from broadcasting to playing on competitive teams, or just finding some mates to play some Overwatch with. And all that being said, this has been the Elephant Crown. My name has been SunPhoenix. This has been Blur. Blur, any final words before we depart?
It's really exciting to see teams that we had no knowledge about before, a couple of days before this tournament, come in and be proactive in the scene. And I mean, really take this first or this second division by storm. Very excited to see more teams come in and do the same. If you're ever like curious about this, these tournaments are completely open for entry, and even if you're just playing for fun, there's always space for that.
Yeah, for sure. There's not everybody at all levels is playing super sweaty hardcore, practicing 5 times a week. There's scope for all different approaches to competitive play in these tournaments. And Reunion Island boys and girls, you're more than welcome to join. Anyone from the region is welcome to join. So that's going to be it from us, guys. We'll maybe we'll get a cast this weekend, but we'll have to wait and see. You've been spoiled this week, but we are making up for quite a few missed weeks in the past. So hopefully we'll get to bring some more of the Elephant Crown. But that's going to be it from me. I've been SunPhoenix. He's been Blur. And that was that.